Good morning, world.
Good morning.
So, we had an episode planned, but I don't know if you've seen the Arnold Schwarzenegger video that was going around this weekend. So, we figured we had to touch that before we do anything else. So, we're going to hit you with that today.
So come with us and run to the chopper. I'm Cedric.
And I'm Brian, and this is Cedric and Brian.
As we told you, we'll be back. I'm having fun with this.
You know what? If you like that, give us a like and a subscribe. If you didn't like it, give a like and a subscribe and some comments.
Get to the chopper.
Wow. Anyways, the reason we're doing this Arnold video, I don't know if you've seen it. We're going to play it for you today with our commentary. It was sent to me by somebody very close to me who is pretty much down the middle. They're very, very moderate, but they do vote Republicans. When she sent it to me and I listened to it, I actually got sad because this is the type of thing, well processed, well rehearsed, nice music in the background, that is meant to change the culture of people down the middle and turn them against, conservatives. So we just want to point that out. We want to play it for you. I'm going to give you my objections. Cedric will give you his objections. What we liked about it, obviously there's certain things that are, that you can't argue with. So we're going to play that for you today and give you our commentary.
Well, I think it was huge because they're using Arnold Schwarzenegger. For those you don't know, he's a legal immigrant who came to this country and became governor of California. So it's awesome that they get to use him. But it's kind of
they're using him because he's a Republican,
right?
So that the left can use these so-called Republicans, just like the Lincoln Project, of former Republicans that are definitely not conservative.
Yeah. So this is going to be Arnold's public service announcement to the American people about the terrible thing that happened on Capitol Hill last Wednesday and how we can turn things around. So. Yeah. Like Brian said, we'll offer our commentary as we watch this.
Yeah, so without further ado, we're going to watch it on the phone here, but you're going to have it on the big screen behind us.
As an immigrant to this country, I would like to say a few words to my fellow Americans and to our friends around the world about the events of recent days. Now, I grew up in Austria. I'm very aware of Kristallnacht, or the Night of Broken Glass. It was a night of rampage against the Jews carried out in 1938 by the Nazi equivalent of the Proud Boys.
Okay, so I'm going to pause it right there. I don't know if Arnold wrote this.
We know he didn't.
Yeah. So as you guys know, as the fellow Jew of the Cedric and Brian show, it's already insulting. He's insulting people's intelligence because they realize that people do not know history. The reason he's bringing up this inference and the reason why they're using Arnold, even if it was his idea, is because his family was part of Austria. We all know Hitler was Austrian. So his parents were around during the time of this Kristallnacht that he's talking about. Number one, that was state-sponsored rounding up and propaganda against the Jews. Okay, number one, state-sponsored. They're trying to compare, obviously they've been doing this for 4 years now. Mm-hmm. They're trying to compare Donald Trump to Hitler. Okay, that's insulting our intelligence, number one. I don't know in my lifetime if there's been a president more friendly to the Jewish people and to Israel in particular than Donald Trump. But they'll still keep putting out this narrative. It's patently untrue, but they're using this, and it's the reason I'm sure you've all seen out there that watch our show. They're using this so that they can take Trump down off of social media, which is how he gets his message across. Because if he's literally Hitler, then they have a reason, because none of us would want a literal Hitler spewing their hate. Well, the fact is, he's not. He didn't call for this, and then Arnold is trying to say that the Proud Boys also are some kind of Nazi organization. Proud Boys, first they said they were a bunch of racists, and then they found out, oops, the founder of it happens to be a Cuban or a Puerto Rican who's at least half black.
Right.
So there's a narrative.
Now that term that they used, Kristallnacht,
yeah.
Kristallnacht, it means broken glass, right?
Yeah.
So basically what happened was they were going through small businesses, mom and pop shops, and they were breaking glass and breaking windows and destroying small businesses. That sounds vaguely similar to what happened this summer.
Yeah, exactly.
With another group.
Yeah, it does not sound like the horrible thing that we and Cedric talked about that happened at the Capitol, which lasted literally a few hours, and then so-called Nazi Party Mitch McConnell came back, restored order, and voted for Biden to be our next president. So, again, just taking this opening sequence, it's already, what they do is they set up straw man so they can tear it down. Nothing about what he said has any close resemblance to what happened in Germany in 1938. So keep that in mind, because you have to play along with this fantasy in order for the rest of this speech to work. So unfortunately, with the way that we teach history now, and Cedric's a teacher, we know we do not teach American history anymore in the public schools. So the way we teach it, people will just buy this. And unfortunately, it's been happening since we were young. It's infiltrated for the last 50 years. So again, I know I went long on that. Let's continue. But remember, this is now based on a false premise. And everything he says after this, remember, you have to take it for a grain of salt. So here we go.
Wednesday was the day of broken glass right here in the United States. The broken glass was in the windows of the United States Capitol. But the mob did not just shatter the windows of the Capitol. They shattered the ideals we took for granted. They did not just break down the doors of the building that housed the American democracy. They trampled the very principles on which our country was founded. Now, I grew up in the ruins of a country that suffered the loss of its democracy. I was born in 1947, 2 years after.
Okay, hold on. I just got to stop it one more time. Who's trying to take away democracy? All they were, leading up to that point on Wednesday, were people that just wanted to express their grievances on an election that right, left, center. If you don't think, I'm not saying that Biden didn't win, but if you don't think there was some shenanigans going on, then we did an episode on that. You're being willfully blind.
Right.
So again, he's making a false comparison. Let's move on. Do you have anything to say?
No.
The Second World War. Growing up, I was surrounded by broken men drinking away their guilt over their participation in the most evil regime in history. Not all of them were rabid anti-Semites or Nazis. Many just went along, step by step, down the road. They were the people next door. Now, I've never shared this so publicly because it is a painful memory. But my father would come home drunk once or twice a week, and he would scream and hit us and scare my mother. I did not hold him totally responsible because our neighbor was doing the same thing to his family, and so was the next neighbor over. I heard it with my own ears and saw it with my own eyes. They were in physical pain from the shrapnel in their bodies and in emotional pain from what they saw or did. It all started with lies and lies and lies and intolerance. So being from Europe...
One quick thing. We're going to stop this because otherwise, just watch Arnold and not watch our show. But where's the intolerance been coming from? Cedric can point that out during the summer.
It's been coming from the left. We're not saying Democrats. We're not saying that. We're saying people from the far left. It's been coming from them all summer long.
But it's been sponsored by people like who's going to be your next vice president, who was raising money on social media to get people out of jail that were committing acts of violence, vandalism, and bodily harm. So where's the intolerance? Who are the people that were making non-people of color bow down to them and put their fists up?
Yeah.
Those evil police that were kneeling on the ground before Black Lives Matter.
And if you notice, like during the BLM movement, and we keep going back to that this summer, during that time, the police allowed them free reign to run the streets as long as they didn't get too crazy. The police stepped to the side. They got spewed at. They got spit on. They got called names. And BLM was allowed to just operate without impunity, write their name in big gold letters on the streets, and nothing was done.
Yeah. So there's that false narrative again, with all of those people in the media saying if that was BLM at the Capitol, they would have been shot in the streets, when we know they were basically, like Cedric said, given free reign. So again, everything that Arnold is saying to lead up is to get you emotional, get you, those darn Nazi Trump supporters, when we're here to point out the reality that it's really been the opposite way, but we don't own the airwaves. As the left has shown, they can take down every conservative thing. They shut off Parler, if you haven't heard that. I went on Parler and I haven't had anything in like 20 hours, that has come up. So they've taken down something that has free speech. So what the Nazis did, as Cedric pointed out last time, is that was the first thing they did. They started burning books. They took away art. They took away anything that they didn't agree with. What are they doing now? Big tech is taking around. They took down Trump. They took down the walkaway movement has now been stripped from Facebook. It was started by a gay man in Hollywood who just went from Democrat to Republican. They took his whole thing with 500,000 followers down. So again, who's suppressing speech? Who has the lies? Who's controlling the narrative? Let's move on.
I have seen firsthand how things can spin out of control. I know there is a fear in this country and all over the world that something like this could happen right here. Now, I do not believe it is, but I do believe that we must be aware of the dire consequences of selfishness and cynicism. President Trump sought to overturn the results of an election, and of a fair election. He sought a coup by misleading people with lies. My father and our neighbors were misled also with lies, and I know where such lies lead. President Trump is a failed leader. He will go down in history as the worst president ever. The good thing is that he soon will be as irrelevant as an old tweet. But what are we to make of those elected officials who have enabled his lies and his treachery? I will remind them of what Teddy Roosevelt said. Patriotism means to stand by the country. It does not mean to stand by the president.
Okay, so which president used the term "Make America Great Again"? Who was all about country? And you see what Arnold's doing here. He's trying to take people like Ted Cruz, anybody who actually stood up for the president, and he wants to get them removed now. This is their way of purging voices that they don't like. It's very scary.
Right.
What he's saying absolutely has to do with the Nazis, but it's completely backwards. It reminds me, and I told Cedric, I just read 1984 during the summer. So much of what's going on reminds me of that book. So the main character in 1984, a little tangent here, his job was to change words. Well, they didn't have social media back then, so they had to actually just take everybody's books, burn them, give them new dictionaries with the new words. Well, in today's New World Order, everything's on, Wikipedia. Things change within hours. They will change words within hours. They're basically doing what he did in the book 1984, but now they can do it in real time right now. It's scary. Wake up. You're going to see Arnold. He's already mentioned Teddy Roosevelt, Republican. Now he's going to mention John F. Kennedy, because he's trying to basically portray himself as a unifier. Don't be fooled, please. Just by invoking people that happen to be on both sides does not make you a unifier. All right? You can cherry pick anything that anybody says, but again, since this was based on the whole false premise, you can make anything sound good.
John F. Kennedy wrote a book called Profiles in Courage. A number of members of my own party, because of their own spinelessness, would never see their names in such a book, I guarantee you. They're complicit with those who carried the flag of self-righteous insurrection into the Capitol. But it did not work. Our democracy held firm. Within hours, the Senate and the House of Representatives were doing the people's business and certifying the election of President-elect Biden.
Okay, so all those people that he wanted to paint with a brush came back in, Republicans alike. In fact, a couple Republicans changed their mind about the election to go ahead and certify because they were so appalled. So Again, the people on the right were appalled. They called this out for what it was. It was not a good deed, unlike the people on the left, including your next vice president, who actually was encouraging this stuff. So,
well, and it was important to see that Arnold pointed out that they got back to the business at hand very quickly. Now, here's the thing. I know people are going to call us out for this. Brian, I'm not saying that what happened last Wednesday is right.
No.
It was wrong. But here's the thing. It happened. We called each other out on it, and they got back to the business at hand. And Brian pointed out in our last video, there are still cities suffering numerous loss of money, livelihood from all the things that were done this summer, and nothing was done to them. And as a matter of fact, people are still in the process of being under arrest for what happened last Wednesday.
Yeah, I know. And again, I'll say it again. That stuff was encouraged over the summer. This was not encouraged by anybody with any authority. Even Alex Jones, the far, far, far right guy, was seen out front telling people not to go in. Even he was calling people back. So you cannot say that the leaders or anybody associated with that was noting that as a positive thing on Wednesday.
Right.
And again, we're just showing the hypocrisy. You can't say that for the left. That's why this whole thing is. This is double speak. This is 1984 coming from Arnold Schwarzenegger.
What a great display of democracy. Now, I grew up Catholic. I went to church, to Catholic school. I learned the Bible and my catechism and all of this. And from those days, I remember a phrase that is relevant today: a servant's heart. It means serving something larger than yourself. See, what we need right now from our elected representatives is a public servant's heart.
So this is definitely Arnold showing that he's on the left. What he mentioned growing up Catholic, you serve somebody bigger than yourself, that was God. Now he's saying you need to serve your government. Guess who says you need to serve your government as bigger than yourself? The former Soviet Union and any other communist country, including China. So he's not hiding it. At least he's being upfront with it. Yep. He wants you to serve your government. That is communist manifesto crap right there. So at least he's not hiding it.
We need public servants that serve something larger than their own power or their own party. We need public servants who will serve higher ideals, the ideals in which this country was founded, the ideals that other countries look up to. Now, over the past few days, friends from all over the world have been calling me distraught and worried about us as a nation. One woman was in tears about America, wonderful tears of idealism about what America should be. Those tears should remind us of what America means to the world. Now, I've told everyone who has called that as heartbreaking as all of this is, America will come back from these dark days and shine our lights once again. Now you see this sword? This is the Conan sword. Now here's the thing about swords. The more you temper a sword, the stronger it becomes. The more you pound it with a hammer and then heat it in the fire and then thrust it into the cold water and then pound it again and plunge it into the fire and into the water, the more often you do that, the stronger it becomes.
So one last thing, it's almost over. This is where I agree with Arnold. We will become stronger, but only under one circumstance. If you allow people's ideas to be put into the public square on both sides.
Right.
Not shutting out one side. The Nazis shut out anything that didn't agree with them. So what Arnold says here, yeah, everybody could be, and this is probably where the person who sent me the video said, this is, yes, America will bounce back. It's optimism. It's great. But immediately following that is when all conservatives were basically slowly being taken off of social media. That's your public square. If you can't have both sides on the public square, you will not come back stronger because you're only going to have one side. You have to have both sides. You have to have a public square of ideas. Nobody's calling for violence. Nobody did call for violence on Wednesday, but like we said before, and we keep beating this horse, there were calls for violence, and we played in our last video where that guy was shot, and one of the leaders of the movement said they're not going to lose any sleep over it. Again, what Arnold's saying here now is, yeah, it's very positive, but it leads you up to the fact that you're just going to put blinders on at the fact that they're shutting out anybody who dissents with what's going on in the media.
I'm not telling you all this because I wanted to become an expert sword maker, but our democracy is like the steel of this sword. The more it is tempered, the stronger it becomes. Our democracy has been tempered by wars, injustices, and insurrections. I believe, as shaken as we are by the events of recent days, we will come out stronger because we now understand what can be lost. We need reforms, of course, so that this never ever happens again. We need to hold accountable the people that brought us to this unforgivable point. And we need to look past ourselves, our parties and disagreements, and put our democracy first. And we need to heal together from the drama of what has just happened. We need to heal not as Republicans or as Democrats, but as Americans. Now, to begin this process, no matter what your political affiliation is, I ask you to join me in saying to President-elect Biden, President-elect Biden, we wish you great success as our president. If you succeed, our nation succeeds. We support you with all our hearts as you seek to bring us together. And to those who think they can overturn the United States Constitution, know this: you will never win. President-elect Biden, we stand with you today, tomorrow, and forever in defense of our democracy from those who would threaten it. May God bless all of you, and may God bless America.
So what he says, great, uplifting. How many prominent people said that when Donald Trump became president?
I didn't hear any of that in 2016.
Any of it. Oh, we want our country to succeed. No, it was he needs to be impeached. He didn't win the election. It was Russia. And now, kumbaya moment. Yeah, okay, Biden. Hey, we all hope that Biden succeeds. We live in this country.
Right.
But if it goes down this path where you're just going to shut down anybody you don't agree with and get them out of the public square, I hope to God that does not happen. But it's looking scary right now.
Yeah. And the only way we can succeed is we talk about what Trump did so well, and maybe I'm wrong, correct me if I am, he talked about us as Americans. It seems like what the left is doing, especially Biden and Kamala Harris, they're still jumping on this race baiting. They're talking to us as, well, black Americans, white Americans, men, women, cisgender, where they're so focused on identity politics. And all Trump tried to do is like, no, Americans, what are we as a group of people going to do to make this country better? But I don't see that with the new regime coming in. They're going to keep using identity politics and take that all the way to the bank.
Yep. They even made this thing at the Capitol a race thing, which tells you what's going to be going on for the next couple of years. So on Thursday, we're going to have another fun one that's going to be, yes. I know I talked a lot. The next one, I'm going to hand over to Cedric. So yes. Keep an eye out for that.
Like sometimes our production stuff is like, we'll reach out to each other and say, hey, I really want to talk about this. So I'll say, Brian, you run with this one. He'll say, so you run with this one. But that's the teamwork that we have. And we're trying to be a small microcosm of what this country should be.
Yeah, but we do have to take... before we go, we didn't do this last time, but I want to make sure that we hit a comment every time. So Cedric had a great comment that just came in, so I'm going to let him respond to that. He hasn't seen it yet, so I'm going to throw it on him.
Okay.
All right, so because it was good. I'll read it and I'll let Cedric respond. So this one was from one of our viewers. His name is Emmett Stewart. So Emmett says, huge fan. Proud of you, Cedric. It is never easy to put your personal and private self forward, especially on the internet at the judgment of many people who you don't know and don't know you. I have enjoyed listening to the Cedric and Brian videos and getting to know you. Keep up the great work. Always be honest. I respect you may need to self-censor for the platform a bit, but I'm really happy that you aren't letting it change your message, even if you need to exclude certain words. I grew up much like you did. I'm sure he's talking about Cedric. I'm almost 50 and was raised in the South. I see things the same as you. Don't go solo.
Wow.
So
wow.
I'm making an assumption there. Maybe he was talking to me, but I'm only bringing that up because he says proud of you, Cedric, at the beginning.
Right.
So.
Well, thank you, Emmett. Appreciate that. And like Brian, I said before, when we first started this YouTube channel, we were just having fun. And then we realized me and Brian both share a lot of the same policies and values about this country, and we love this country. And me and Brian, we've talked about this before. He can't speak out on stuff because he's a heterosexual white male who is seen as the oppressor. I can't speak on certain things because if I do, I'm seen as a sellout or an Uncle Tom or just placating or buck dancing to the man. All I can say is, Emmett, thank you. We're gonna keep doing this as long as they let us. And like Brian alluded to, we may be taken down. We don't know, but we can't let that silence us. We're gonna keep saying what we're gonna say, and we thank you for watching us.
And on that point, if you watched our last video, if you can find anything in there where we violated anything other than doing our opinions, yet we have been limited on the advertisement. They either restrict you completely, limit it, or let you advertise fully. Well, on 2 of our videos, the last one and the one 2 times ago, I don't think we said anything controversial. It just happens to lean right, and now we're limited. So again, this is what's happening. You guys don't see that, but it's happening behind the scenes. That any time you come out with a conservative thing, they find a way to throttle you.
Right.
So.
Right. But anyway, we thank you guys for watching this video. Like Brian says, stay tuned for the next one. Be a little more lighthearted, a little more fun. But make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, and make sure you
ring that bell.
Ring that bell. Let's do that over. Okay.
No, I like the flub up.
Oh my goodness.
I got to see your flub ups.
Oh, wow. Make sure you like, subscribe, and ring the bell.
No, I already put the caption. Too late. Comment. We want comments. We love the comments. It actually helps us when you comment.
Yes, absolutely.
Even the hate.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And make sure you share this video with everyone you know. So until next time, we will be back. I'm Cedric.
And I'm Brian. We'll see you later.